This video will cover the Intuit ProFile review marks. Preparers and teams find different ways to fit them into their process of preparing and signing off returns. There is the ability to include review marks in a printed return if that is how a preparer or team want to use the feature. The review marks can be accessed through right-clicking on a field, which will pop up the context menu. Let's go have a look in Profile and see what this looks like again. I'm in a 2023 T1, and I've got the auditor open just to demonstrate a couple of things about review marks. Let's first start by going up to Options, Environment, and I'm on the Auditor tab. What I've got set here is Prevent Filing. Preparers find this handy because they can make sure the return isn't filed until a correction is made or a question is answered. So let me just show you what happens here. Let's look at this first message here for Schedule 15. I have different options here. These are the review marks available. I can just sign it off if I want and I know that I've assessed it and find it isn't relevant and it's gone. Prepare sign off. Let's go look at sign offs and it's now in the sign offs. If I click on it, it takes me to the window and let me just access it a different way. If I want to remove the mark, I can right click, review marks, and no marks. So now it's back in summary. The other thing I can do is just actually go here and say, maybe I better check on this. Let's look at the e-file status. It's e-file eligible. This return has been assessed by ProFile and based on the audit settings is ready to file. So let's say I want to review this. So I can put a review mark on it. If I have a question, it'll now let me know that I cannot e-file from those settings in the auditor. The other thing I can do is right click, add a memo. So I've added a memo here, and down at the bottom, the review marks are accessible through a memo. So if I want to say it's a question, I can click on it, press OK. It has the same result. I can't file this until I review the question. If I've determined that it is okay, they don't have an FHSA, I can open the memo and put no review mark on it or a preparer, and now it's gone. Been reviewed. So those are ways I can put a question mark and then how to resolve the question mark once I have answered the question, change the return, or determine I don't need to make a change. Let's go to the next one. I can click on it, and this one takes me to the line. And we can see here I have two ways of accessing the review marks. I can right click on the message in the auditor and just sign it off, or I can double click on the field and review it. And once I've reviewed the form and determine it's not a form I need, I can right click and do a prepare sign off. If after reviewing I decide I do need the form, I can make the appropriate entry based on the return and what I've determined I need. And once the entry is made, I get a different notice. Then the preparer can determine whether that's appropriate or not. So that you can either sign it off if you don't need the form or make the appropriate entries on the form if entries are required. Up at the top here, there is the audit toolbar, and some people like to go through returns, and you can see my cursor now. If I click on the question mark, I can put a question mark on, and I'm going to take question mark off if I click on it again. So I can access the review marks that way. The thing is now it's got the review marks as my cursor, so everything I click on will be a review mark or a question mark. If I want to change the cursor back, I can click on it, and I can see the question marks gone from the cursor. If you get a bunch of question marks like this on a form, I can just go back up to the question mark toolbar and just click on the question marks and remove them all. And this one I'm just going to mark now as resolved. Go to question marks and do a prepare sign off. Some of these are just pretty straightforward. I'm not using the planner, so that's okay. I'll just sign this one off straight from the auditor. Sometimes we get people to call and they say, well, how come all my messages aren't gone after I sign them off? Like they are here, they're all now in the sign-offs. I can access them through the sign-off tab. I can click on them and go back to the field. I can access the review marks window from there. A lot of preparers want to go through and have no entries in the auditor. What you could look for is back to Options, Environment, Audit, and down at the very bottom here, there's remove audit messages on sign off, and I've got those checked. If I uncheck them, the messages stay there. They show that they've been assessed, but they don't leave from the summary. It depends how you're more comfortable. If you want the messages there, know that you've assessed them and it's in the summary. You can leave it unchecked. If you want a clean summary before you file a return, go to Options, Environment, and click these two. Once you review the messages and sign them off, they will not show in the summary, but they will still appear in the Sign Off tab if you want to review them. Returns can be printed with review mark. Some profile users like to print those as a review and as a reminder of questions they might have to ask a taxpayer when they're reviewing the return. Just also mention that when electronic filing, audit messages, signed off or not, and review mark are never sent to CRA with an electronic filing. Memos aren't sent either. Those are just for the preparer's use. Let's go to profile and have a look. I have the same return here and I put check mark. A lot of preparers like to double check and make sure they entered the information correctly and they put a check mark on it. You can also put check marks on the T1 summary. And I put some questions on the T1. So you might want to double check whether they want to give their information to Election Canada, double check they don't have foreign property that they have to report on a T1135, and any other questions you want to confirm with the taxpayer. What I can do then is go up to File, and just as an example here, I have these questions. I'm just going to right click here and clear this, and click on Review Marks, and then I'm going to print the T1 summary, and the T4 slip screen. Click Review, and what I get is this. Let me scroll up. So some people review returns with their customers, and then I've got a note here. I want to make sure I answered this correctly and ask taxpayer what they want answered. Same with these two questions. If I scroll down, I can review the return and say I've double checked all these check marks. The net federal tax makes sense. I can explain that. And then there's the slip. So some people print this out just either have as a record in a file folder or to review with the taxpayer. We don't want check marks, that kind of thing, going to CRA. This is only for review purposes. Once you have agreement with the taxpayer that all the information's correct, you've reviewed everything, you answered the questions, you can just e-file after getting the T183 signed. That's a brief look at review mark in Profile. There's further details available if you go to the Help menu in Profile, click on Profile Help, and you can search for review mark. The Profile Help in product is very helpful for core feature, for review marks, templates, other things. There's other resources. There's Profile Community. We have articles about current releases, current features in the community. There's also the YouTube channel where videos like this are uploaded. It's a great resource also. Thank you for viewing this video. I hope it was helpful. The main Profile website is profile.intuit.ca. You can find more support options at that website.